Crown courts up and down the country, and very quickly was asked to work for the CPS, that's the Crown Prosecution Service in the UK, and I then became a senior Crown prosecutor specialising in domestic violence cases and street crime. And these were the areas that I had the special skills that was required in order to protect the public. I was also invited to work for the Department for Works and Pensions as a senior Crown prosecutor, and that was in order to prosecute serious fraud. And I was also invited to work for TESOL to support the Home Office in relation to the asylum cases and the advice that was being given at the time in relation to how decision letters should be written to asylum seekers being refused and those whose cases were being expedited. I am now working as an immigration and human rights barrister, and I now specialise in those areas. I also practice in the area of family law, and specifically where it's the local authority attempting to take away a child from their family, or where couples have separated and a partner is trying to be able to have access to their child because they haven't seen their child for a long time. I have had, in terms of leadership, the privilege to become the head of chambers at Threebolt Court Chambers, which has over 40 barristers covering the areas of employment, human rights, immigration, family, commercial, and all sorts of areas. And the reason I say had the privilege is because in my role as head of chambers, I was able to facilitate taking on recruiting barristers who come from various different backgrounds. And when I joined the bar 28 years ago, it was a very different look. It was very difficult as a woman to break in or be successful, and also as a woman of colour. So what we actively tried to do in our chambers at Threebolt Court was to recruit barristers from different diverse backgrounds to be inclusive. Of course, we ensured that these were the very brightest and the best, but we ensured also that you would be representative of the people that you were going to go and represent our court. So I'm very proud to be one of the people that ensured that happened in my chambers. Another thing in terms of impact, I think, was becoming a supervisor and a trainer of barristers. And that is very important because there's so many young people who complete the bar studies and they're trying to get what's called pupillage, which is the name that it's called at the bar when you're trying to get the work experience, actually, which is 1 whole year in a set of chambers being trained before you can then start to practice. And some people are looking for years and years. I've had a person who worked in law society in various places, had a lot of experience for 10 years, having done the bar course, and still could not get pupillage. And so we were able to take him on during the interview. He demonstrated that he was very bright, very able. He'd gone all over the place trying to get pupillage and couldn't. I train barristers at Middle Temple, which is the inn that I belong to, as a trainer and mentor. And I also have joined as a volunteer an organisation called Bridging the Bar, which is an organisation set up by a colleague who had the vision to support young aspiring barristers in the same way as myself, to give them the training they need in terms of advocacy, give them the financial stability in terms of if they were going to undertake the bar course, which can cost up to £20,000 for somebody from a background where their parents are struggling to make ends meet. That is a lot of money. So you can have an award if you show that you deserve it. And so there are various schemes that have been put together at Bridging the Bar to support aspiring barristers. And so I volunteer there, and we meet once a month and help to train barristers who are struggling, and we give them the sort of tools and techniques that they need. So those are the things I have done. I also do mediations, which I believe we are now moving more and more towards alternative dispute resolution, and that can only be a good thing. In terms of mediations, you can sometimes have people who are in polar opposite positions, and then you speak to them and let them just potentially speak to each other in a room prior to going into court, and they can resolve their situation. It is a very powerful thing, mediation. And so I have volunteered with the Society of Mediators, and what we do is we go 2 times in April and in the summer, August I think, to the Royal Courts of Justice. We've signed up with the courts, so we sit in the reception area and we then invite people to come and speak to us if they would want to be part of the mediation service. And what's quite surprising is that judges are behind it. You know, they'll say yes, you know, if it will save us time, by all means go ahead and do that. And so it could be as simple as a person who's, I'm just trying to think, some quite simple things like you've not said sorry to me because you said that I should pay a certain amount and then I was late in paying it or whatever. It could be a breach of contract of some sort of significance, but really all people are looking for is an apology. And so they sit in the room, you give them the audience and allow them to thrash it out. And most of the time they do. And if they don't resolve it, they minimize the issues. And then they can then go into the court, and it's just a much shorter hearing than what it would have been. So I'm very, very delighted to be part of the mediation service that's run by the Society of Mediators. So the only message I can leave with the distinguished audience here today, I guess, is in terms of collaboration. I do belong to Freehold Court Chambers as one of the founding members and the Barrister Group. So if you were looking to instruct a barrister in terms of housing, employment, immigration, human rights, crime, a wide array, you can find us on the internet. in terms of mediations as well and arbitrations. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much.